Good evening and welcome to this special show. We are talking about the Finance Bill 2017. The government appears to be delivering on its poll promises. One of the promises, of course, was the merger of tribunals. The government, via the Finance Bill, has actually merged 8 tribunals with existing ones. It's also scrapped many others. While this seems to be in line with what the government had promised, the opposition is up in arms. What really is the problem? Let's find out with this report which Ashmit Kumar has gotten for us.
The Finance Act of 2017 has sounded the death knell for 8 tribunals, which now have been merged with other, bigger tribunals. This merger of tribunals is the first phase of the 3-stage process, wherein the government is seeking to exploit synergies for rationalization of tribunals. The 3-stage process was the recommendation of the interministerial group constituted in the year 2014 under the present Law Secretary Suresh Chandra. The IMG had recommended bringing down the number of tribunals from 36 to half that number, 18. But while the intent might have been honest, the nature of and the manner in which the changes have been brought have raised concerns, right down to the constitutionality of the move. First and foremost, most tribunals were constituted through express provisions of a statute. The government, instead of amending these laws, chose to incorporate all the changes into the Finance Bill of 2017, a money bill. Legal experts warn that a bill under Article 110 qualifies as a money bill only, broadly speaking, when it involves a levy of tax or payment being charged to the consolidated fund. Tribunal reform involves neither. Moreover, with the classification as a money bill, it is exempt from scrutiny by the upper house of Parliament, where the opposition enjoys greater numbers. The second worry lies with how the Finance Act 2017 generously delegates powers to the Centre for appointment of chairpersons and members to a total of 19 tribunals, including the likes of the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, Securities Appellate Tribunal, Telecom Dispute and Settlement Appellate Tribunal, Authority for Advanced Ruling, as well as the National Green Tribunal. Experts warn about the clear case of conflict where the government, being one of the biggest litigators in most of these tribunals, will be responsible for appointing members and chairpersons. The third worry is over the need for specialization. For example, under the Finance Act 2017, Compat has been merged with the NCLAT. While one is governed by the Competition Act, the other by the Companies Act. The highly specific nature of the statutes at work, along with the need for development of respective jurisprudence, has compelled the legal fraternity to question the government's actions, if not intentions. As for the way forward, experts seek reform beyond the low-hanging fruits. They are quick to point at the recommendations of the Law Commission and the 74th report of the Rajya Sabha for establishing a National Tribunals Commission. It was recommended that an independent NTC be tasked with the appointment of members and chairpersons to these tribunals based on a uniform criteria across the board. Experts also point at the Tribunals, Courts and Enforcement Act of 2007 in the UK, where under a single law, tribunals were overhauled by introducing a unified structure. Experts warn that in the absence of a comprehensive strategy, the ad hoc mergers as seen under the Finance Act of 2017, while good for optics, might only spell more confusion. In New Delhi, Ashmit Kumar.
Okay, Ashmit has essentially established the sort of picture as it stands right now. Joining us right now is senior advocate and national spokesperson for the Congress Party, Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Mr. Singhvi, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, sir. We also have Mr. Mohan Parasaran, who obviously needs no introduction, senior advocate, the Supreme Court. Mr. Singhvi, if I can start with you, sir. What is the problem with these amendments? Is the problem the fact that it's been taken via the Finance Bill? Or is it what has been done in terms of scrapping of some of these tribunals and merger of the others?
Your either-or categorization is misplaced because there are multiple problems, not merely 2 or 3. The principal ones I can itemize, otherwise I don't have time to discuss all of them. The most serious 3 or 4 are as follows, and they're only one out of many. Number 1, this subterfuge of designating, characterizing any bill which they want to push through and avoid Rajya Sabha scrutiny by characterizing it or mischaracterizing it as a money bill is now being used far too frequently. Let me tell you that the Speaker's discretion to designate a money bill under 110, if misused at the rate at which this government is misusing, will lead to a backlash, and I have no doubt that soon it will be held to be fully judicially reviewable and cut down. If I will remind you that earlier the power of issuing ordinances for a long time was thought to be unreviewable because it's the satisfaction of the President. In 1996 or the 90s in Bihar, the same ordinance was re-promulgated 19 or 26 times. DC Vadhava went there and the court gave a thumping judgment saying this is a fraud on the power of the Constitution. Exactly the same fraud on the power conferred for bona fide use of 110 is being practiced by this government. A petition is already pending here in the Supreme Court, and I have no doubt that ultimately this kind of misuse in a weird sense should be welcomed by us because it will hasten a court invalidation. The second equally serious point is the reason to believe. As you know, I've written recently on it. This has stood the test of time for decades in India. Not only in section 132 of the Income Tax Act, but in section 148 in several other sections of the Income Tax Act. Reason to believe is the sheet anchor of adjudication of decision making under the Income Tax Act. Indeed, it is a sheet anchor of decision making in administrative decision making in Companies Act and many other acts. Now, for the first time, we are told that what you could easily do for 60, 70 years, you can't do because now the informant's identity will be disclosed. This is a spurious reason for the simple reason that A, what was happening for 60, 70 years? B, you need not disclose the informant's identity, you just have to formulate the reasons to believe on the file. C, what is the harm in disclosing the reasons to believe without disclosing the informant's identity?
Right.
D, you can so disclose it now after the ITAT level. So the ITO, the CIT appeals and ITAT no disclosure. High Court and above disclosure. And last but not the least, the result will be that everybody will simply go to the High Court to get these reasons. It's a chaotic, mindless and liable to be struck down amendment. And last but not the least, I know I've exceeded my time limit, very quickly in 30 seconds. The bearer bonds thing is a very, very clever device. It sounds good. It lacks one simple additional point which makes it very suspect. There is no way, I repeat, no way of finding out who has bought a bond, a bearer bond of 20 crores and which party has received it. Neither there is in law an obligation for me to disclose which party I paid it to, nor is there an obligation of the receiving party to say that I received a bearer bond of X crores from Mr. Singhvi. Therefore, while it does allow easy donation, it actually anonymizes, hides the identity of both the donor and the donee, and therefore regularizes and therefore in fact authorizes, legitimizes unlimited donations while concealing identity. Now, it's no answer for the finance minister to say that the bank has the identity. It's like saying that if I go to buy a NHP bond of the Government of India tomorrow, the bank has my identity. But do you have my identity? Does the country have your identity? Can you get my identity from the RTI?
Sure, sure. No, absolutely.
So these are three of the many reasons. It's shocking, it's spurious, and it's misleading.
Mr. Singhvi, just to come back to the first point about the tribunals, there has also been a fair bit which has been said that the government is essentially taking power to be able to appoint, remove, members, people who are essentially going to be on these appellate bodies, on these tribunals. Could you, for our viewers, very simply tell us if that is actually true? How was it done earlier? Who appointed these members? Whether it was with, with advice from the courts, and now it's only going to be with the executive. Go on, sir.
Yes, this is the fourth point. As I said, there are multiple. We've discussed three. You have raised a very valid fourth point. What is that? It links to both 110 and otherwise. You see, this is supposedly a money bill. Now, a money bill cannot substantively amend 40 other enactments, repeat, 40, by saying that by simply adding a 1 or 2 line amendment saying that the terms of service, the appointment, the removal, the transfer, the terms of service of the various members or chairpersons of the tribunals mentioned in those 40 acts shall now be decided by a rule-making power, which we are putting in this finance bill. So first and foremost, it's a violation of the money bill concept, because by no means is a appointment, we are not in the merits of it at the moment, just the power to appoint or disappoint or transfer or put the terms of conditions is not a money bill power. You can't put it in a money bill. You can't have a money bill which has the head like a money bill and the entire body is a non-money bill. That's point one. Point two, you are giving by a rule-making power to the executive to make significant changes. Now it is true that under these rules, selection committees sit. But nothing prevents the rule from being misused. Remember, it's a rule. It's not an act of parliament. It's not a section. It is not being passed by parliament. It is whole-scale delegation of discretion. So tomorrow, theoretically, if the government of India was to make a rule saying, and remember, in these tribunals, the biggest litigant is the government. Take the IT-80.
Sure, sure.
Who's the litigant in IT-80? Now the government says, okay, tomorrow I convert your permanent posting in Delhi to a rotational posting. Every 6 months you shall be posted in 5 cities. Now that's a nice threat to dangle over your head. If you're a tribunal member and the government has this power of changing this by the rule, it's a different matter. Under the rule there may be selection committee, judges are supposed to sit there, but the power is there. How it is used is a later issue. You may use it validly, somebody else may use it badly, I may use it worse. So why give this power?
Fair enough. The other point is about competence, right? I mean, there have been merger of, the Competition Appellate Tribunal with, say, for example, the NCLAT. One sort of deals with the issue of competition law, the other company law, which many experts have pointed out is very different. Is there an issue there? Because the other argument is that judges on these tribunals are mostly generalists. They're not specialists anyway. So what is the difference? Go on, sir.
Let me tell you, this is the fifth very important point, yet again a vital point. I wrote in the article, I said, what kind of mental acrobatics will show a synergy between competition law and company law? Or between, even worse, telecom law and airport regulatory authority law? So first of all, I club, sensible people club, to generate synergies, to generate complementarities. You don't club a chalk and a cheese to generate neither fish nor fowl. Second, when you club these things, you must remember that many of these existing tribunals, suppose I am Tribunal A of the company, as a chairperson and member, I may already have increasing arrears. Now you are putting a load onto me of another tribunal. To which the answer is, oh, that doesn't matter, we'll take care of it, this was said to the Rajya Sabha by the Finance Minister, by appointing more and more members. Well, in that case, why club them at all? You can appoint more members of the old tribunal. Third, this is actually going to make it worse, because when a company law judge is thinking, just give me half a second, I won't take time. These are highly specialized. We are practitioners, we practice every day. The Competition Act is a highly specialized subject. The amount of time you have to spend to understand competition law and to go into a case in depth is very different from what you will spend in a mere company operation mismanagement petition. The way you look at regulatory asset in an airport authority regulatory scheme is vitally different from how you look at TRAI and telecom. Now the same chap, let's be very clear, it will be the same chairperson and maybe the same members dealing with these two, in the morning hearing 3 cases of telecom, after that hearing 2 cases of airport regulator, then hearing 3 of telecom. I mean, this is going to create a mishmash and a jumble which is avoidable. If you are only going to have 7 people in one tribunal and you can easily have 3 in each, then why not have 2 tribunals? You're not saving anything. What is the expense you're saving?
Very valid points, Mr. Singhvi. Thank you very much for joining us. We're running out of time, but appreciate you coming in and making those points, which you actually wrote down in that article as well. We also are going to take a very quick break, but we'll be joined by Mr. Mohan Parasaran, former Solicitor General, Mr. Dhanendra Kumar, the first chairman of the Competition Commission of India. We'll also be joined by Mr. Somshekhar Sundaran. He's, of course, one of the top securities lawyers in the country. Gentlemen, just coming to you. Let's slip into a break. Be right back.